This was far more than a simple procedural vote. It was a stark rejection of the notion that one person can unilaterally send American sons and daughters into harm's way without Congress, debate, or oversight. The motion passed with 52 yeas and 48 nays, formally placing the joint resolution on the calendar. The debate boiled down to a question of immense gravity. What is more dangerous, allowing Donald Trump to remain in office, even for a few days, or impeaching him again and risking further political division? Many argued that Trump's capacity for chaos, including the potential to incite violent conflict, made immediate action imperative. On the final House vote, it was 232 to 197 in favor of impeachment, a decision made in the shadow of a crime scene from just a week prior, when a pro-Trump mob had stormed the Capitol in an attempt to overturn the presidential election, resulting in 5 deaths. Democrats framed this as the collapse of Trump's fragile glass house of lies, built on 4 years of racially charged fear-mongering. As Senator Lindsey Graham observed, it was clear that Trump's grip on the Republican Party had been fundamentally shattered on January 10, 2026. The Republican Party's fractures became painfully visible during a classified Senate briefing on the Venezuela raid and Trump's request for $5 billion in emergency supplemental funding. In a dramatic move, 12 Republican senators stood, walked out, and refused to participate in the vote. They did not negotiate compromise or seek middle ground. They simply left, effectively killing Trump's funding request. The resulting vote, 52 to 48 against Trump's emergency powers push, was historic, as all 48 Democrats joined the walkout Republicans in blocking the proposal. This marked the first time in modern memory that the party officially fractured over one of Trump's foreign policy operations. The context was equally dramatic. While this was unfolding, images circulated of protesters inside Statuary Hall, rushing past security and occupying a legendary space within the Capitol. The scene was chaotic and dangerous, with law enforcement witnessing individuals freely navigating a historically sacred area. This underscored the volatility and seriousness of Trump's political influence and the risk his actions posed to American institutions. That Trump's $5 billion request was intended to fund ongoing military operations in Venezuela, consolidating a supposed victory, maintaining security, and achieving mission objectives. Yet the Senate decisively said no. 12 Republican senators, significant figures such as Tom Tillis of North Carolina and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, made it clear that Trump's actions had overstepped constitutional boundaries. This was not a fringe faction of the party. These were senior, established Republicans, signaling that the president had acted unilaterally, unlawfully, and recklessly. The message was clear. Trump could not count on automatic loyalty, and his influence within the GOP was waning. Trump's response, predictable yet ineffective, was incendiary. He took to Truth Social to label the dissenting senators rhino traitors, Republicans in name only, accusing them of betraying America and cowardice. He threatened to recruit challengers to primary them in the 2026 midterms. Yet, these words accomplished nothing. The damage was already done. The vote was over. The funding request was dead, and Trump's emergency powers push had collapsed. The timing of this walkout could not have been more consequential. It coincided with ongoing impeachment proceedings, 25th Amendment considerations, and forced testimony under oath. Trump found himself besieged on every front. The courts were limiting his authority. Congress was moving against him. His cabinet was discussing his removal. And now even his own party in the Senate had publicly turned against him. Politically, Trump was isolated, his agenda blocked, and his influence rapidly diminishing. The financial stakes amplified the political message. The $5 billion Trump sought could have been redirected toward domestic priorities, such as infrastructure, education, or social programs. Instead, He wanted to use it to fund a controversial military occupation in Venezuela, a proposal the Senate rejected outright. Their refusal sent a clear signal. They did not trust Trump with public funds, did not endorse his priorities, and questioned his judgment. Public opinion mirrored this political isolation. A Gallup poll from January 11, 2026, recorded Trump's approval at 41%, a historically low figure, indicating waning support and increasing vulnerability. At the same time, the country was contending with the 25th Amendment discussions, impeachment proceedings, court setbacks, and forced testimonies. Trump was losing not only political battles, but public confidence as well. Democrats have drawn parallels between this crisis and January 6, 2021. Then, democracy itself seemed imperiled as rioters stormed the Capitol. Now, Trump's unauthorized military raid, civilian casualties, cover-ups, and constitutional overreach are being portrayed as an equally dangerous threat to democratic norms. They describe it as Insurrection 2.0, an attempt to expand presidential power unconstitutionally, and the Senate walkout is Congress asserting that authority cannot go unchecked. The Republican Party split is profound. There remain Trump loyalists who will back him unconditionally, regardless of legality or ethics. But an equally significant faction of the party has drawn clear lines, asserting principles and limits. That division is set to define the 2026 midterms, determining whether Republicans can maintain control of the Senate and shaping the legislative battles ahead. Moderates who walked out on Trump may continue to oppose him on other key votes, further weakening his legislative influence and cementing a party divided between loyalty and principle. In this moment, the Senate walkout, the blocked funding, and the simultaneous political crises collectively illustrate the collapse of Trump's authority. He faces historic challenges: impeachment, 25th Amendment threats, eroding support within his own party, declining public approval, and mounting legal and congressional constraints. This convergence of crises marks an unprecedented moment in modern American politics. A president politically isolated, constitutionally challenged, and facing the real possibility of removal from office, while his own party publicly defies him. It is a pivotal chapter in the ongoing struggle over presidential power, party unity, and the preservation of democratic norms. For Trump, this is likely the most critical moment of his presidency. It isn't one single failure, but the convergence of multiple crises hitting him simultaneously: courts blocking his actions, Congress moving toward impeachment, his cabinet considering removal, his own party and the Senate walking out on him, and approval ratings sinking into the low 40s. This is more than political trouble. It's a threat to his very position. Trump faces the real possibility of removal from office, impeachment and conviction, and the erosion of control over the Republican Party, all stemming from the fallout of the Venezuela raid and his response to it. The Senate walkout over the $5 billion emergency funding request is emblematic of this crisis. This isn't merely about money. It represents a profound fracture within the Republican Party and the collapse of Trump's political power. When 12 Republican senators joined Democrats to block funding, refusing to support a president from their own party, it was a constitutional signal, not a simple political disagreement. These senators are not fringe figures. Tom Tillis of North Carolina, a mainstream conservative respected across party lines, and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, known for her independence and long tenure in the Senate, walked out to make a statement. Their refusal demonstrates that principled opposition to Trump is not only acceptable, but expected among serious, established Republicans. The reasons cited for walking out are significant: the unauthorized nature of the Venezuela raid, civilian casualties, and a clear overreach of constitutional authority. These senators argued that Trump acted beyond his powers, and that funding a military operation they considered unconstitutional would be untenable. This was a principled stand rooted in the Constitution and the separation of powers, not personal animosity or partisan politics. For Trump, the consequences are devastating. He needed the $5 billion to fund the Venezuela operation and to demonstrate the authority to conduct military action without congressional approval. Instead, he suffered humiliation, losing a key vote to members of his own party. This is the type of political blow that undermines a president's credibility and ability to push an agenda forward. The symbolism of the walkout cannot be overstated. When senators literally leave the room rather than participate in the vote, it sends a stark message. This is so wrong, so unconstitutional, that we cannot even witness it. That gesture resonated widely, both in the media and among the public, signaling that Trump no longer enjoys unified Republican support. The vote itself, 52-48, underscores the magnitude of his decline. All 48 Democrats voted against Trump, and the 12 Republican defectors brought the total opposition to 60 senators, leaving only 38 in support. These numbers highlight that Trump lacks the votes to advance major legislation, reinforcing the perception of him as a politically weakened, effectively lame duck president. The timing of the vote adds another layer of significance. It coincided with the 25th Amendment discussions, impeachment proceedings, and Trump's forced testimony under oath. These simultaneous crises feed into each other, magnifying the pressure on the president. The Senate walkout makes the invocation of the 25th Amendment more plausible, increases the likelihood of a successful impeachment, and highlights Trump's political isolation. These are not isolated incidents. They are interconnected events converging toward the same outcome: Trump's removal from office. The implications for the Republican Party are profound. If moderate Republicans continue to split with Trump on major votes, forming coalitions with Democrats, the Senate's dynamics change fundamentally. Trump can no longer count on guaranteed support for legislation. Every bill becomes a contested battle, and the party can no longer act as a unified bloc behind him. This fracture is likely to define Republican politics well into the 2026 midterms and beyond. The $5 billion itself is also symbolic. This is a significant sum intended for a controversial military occupation in Venezuela, which resulted in civilian deaths and raised serious constitutional concerns. That money could have been allocated to domestic priorities, such as infrastructure, education, or scientific research. Yet Trump prioritized a military operation over those needs. The Senate's refusal signals a rejection of Trump's priorities and judgment, which will likely resonate with voters. Comparisons to January 6, 2021, have emerged in framing this moment. Democrats argue that Trump's actions reflect the same pattern of overreach and disregard for constitutional limits, portraying the Senate walkout as Congress defending democracy from a president seeking to centralize power. This messaging is poised to influence the 2026 midterms, reinforcing the stakes of this political moment. Vice President Vance's opposition to funding the Venezuela operation adds another critical dimension. By publicly opposing Trump, Vance signals that key members of the executive branch question the president's judgment and fitness for office. This strengthens the case for the 25th Amendment, as it demonstrates that even those closest to Trump see the operation, and by extension Trump's leadership, as unacceptable. Across the board, Trump is losing support. The courts are limiting his actions. Congress is challenging him. His cabinet is moving against him, and moderate Republicans are defying him in historic fashion. His approval ratings have dropped into the low 40s, reflecting growing public dissatisfaction. All of these factors combined indicate that Trump's political and constitutional position is increasingly precarious. He is not merely politically embattled. He is facing a historic threat to his presidency, with his authority, credibility, and party control, all under unprecedented pressure. Trump is losing support on every front. The courts are blocking his actions. The House is moving against him. The Senate is turning away. Even his own cabinet is questioning his leadership. Public approval has fallen to just 41%, leaving him isolated and vulnerable. Each crisis feeds into the next, creating a cascading effect where one setback makes the following one more likely. At some point, Trump's political position becomes untenable and his removal from office becomes inevitable. The recent Senate walkout illustrates this perfectly. 12 Republican senators joined all Democrats to block $5 billion in funding for the Venezuela operation, a significant political defeat that underscores Trump's waning control. In a divided Congress, this defeat signals that major initiatives are unlikely to succeed. The Venezuela operation will now have to continue on existing budgets, with military activities scaled back or redirected, and strategic goals postponed or abandoned entirely. This represents a serious blow to Trump's foreign policy and a clear example of Congress blocking his objectives. The implications go beyond foreign policy. This walkout accelerates the impeachment process. It shows the House that the Senate is unwilling to support Trump and that he is politically vulnerable. Bipartisan opposition to the Venezuela operation will embolden House Democrats to move aggressively, while House Republicans grow nervous about defending him, likely resulting in further defections if the impeachment reaches the Senate. The walkout also fuels discussions around the 25th Amendment. Cabinet members and Vice President Vance can point to this event as evidence of Trump's unfitness. They can argue that even his own party no longer trusts him, that his judgment is poor, and that his decisions are unconstitutional, strengthening the case for removal. Politically, this creates complications for the 2026 midterms. Moderate Republicans who split from Trump may face primary challenges from loyalists, potentially splitting the Republican vote and making it easier for Democrats to win. Senate Republicans are caught in a dilemma: support an unpopular president and risk electoral backlash, or oppose him and face Trump-backed challengers. The walkout reflects a choice for principle over party loyalty. Trump's approval ratings, now at 41%, are likely to decline further as these crises unfold. Impeachment, 25th Amendment discussions, and forced testimony will weigh on public perception. As support erodes, the likelihood of removal or conviction increases, and Republican abandonment becomes more probable. The symbolism of the walkout is striking. Senators literally leaving the chamber sends a powerful message. We do not trust you. We cannot support your actions. This image is replayed across news outlets and campaign materials, defining Trump's public perception. For a president who wants to appear strong and in control, the visual of his own party walking out is devastating, portraying weakness, isolation, and a lack of internal support. Looking ahead, Trump's ability to pass legislation or implement policies is severely curtailed. Congress will block initiatives at every turn, pushing him toward more unilateral actions and an expansion of executive power, which will in turn fuel further conflicts with the courts. This downward spiral demonstrates how each crisis compounds the next, edging the presidency toward a tipping point. Trump is not merely losing individual votes. He is losing control of his party, public support, and the ability to advance his agenda. The Senate walkout is likely to be remembered as the moment when the Republican Party officially fractured, opposition became mainstream, and the possibility of Trump's removal became real. This is an unprecedented moment in modern American politics. A sitting president facing potential removal from his own party, losing major votes in Congress, under scrutiny from his cabinet, and politically isolated. The stakes are historic, and we are witnessing the unfolding climax of a crisis that could reshape the presidency, the Republican Party, and the broader political landscape.